Welcome to Newsmax TV. I'm Kathleen Walter. The GOP has a big enthusiasm advantage leading into the midterm elections as new polls portend big gains for Republicans in November. Joining us to discuss is Newsmax contributor and political analyst Dick Morris. Dick, so good to see you again.
Good to be here.
Well, some big news today. How do things look for GOP control in the Senate?
Well, today, October 6th, 2010, is the first day all year that Republicans have led in 10 Democratic-held Senate seats, enough to win control. So it's kind of like you take first place in baseball. Your destiny's then in your own hands. You don't have to wait for someone else to lose. And most of those are by significant margins. North Dakota, we're 43 ahead. Indiana, we're 18 ahead. Arkansas, 18 ahead. Wisconsin, 12 ahead. Incredible. Pennsylvania, 7. Colorado, 5. That's a little bit closer. It's a little bit of a closing there. West Virginia, 5, which is astonishing. We were 7 or 8 behind. Now we're 5 ahead. Illinois, 4. Kirk is really opening up daylight between him and Grayson and Janulius. Nevada, which has been tied for 7 weeks. Sharon Angle has now moved to a 3-point lead over Harry Reid. And Washington State, where Patty Murray has been leading for the last 4 weeks, Dino Rossi, the Republican, now has a 1-point lead. And the interesting thing is these are all moving in a pro-Republican direction. Then you have New York, where the last poll was 2 weeks ago, and Diaguardi was only 1 point behind Gillibrand. Delaware, where she's still 16 back, but that was 2 weeks ago. They haven't polled since then. And Connecticut, where Linda McMahon is only 4 points behind Blumenthal. So those are all races to watch. But at this point, if the leading candidates hold on to their leads, we will capture the House and the Senate.
Dick, I want to ask you about those races in depth in just a couple minutes, but first, you have long predicted right here on Newsmax TV a GOP tsunami this fall. Now Gallup polls show Republicans enjoy a 3-point lead in generic party ballot and an 18-point lead among likely voters. What does that wide margin tell you?
Well, among registered voters, which is a whole lot of people that never vote, you have 100% are registered voters. Then you have about 65% of registered that vote in presidential elections and about 45% that vote in off-year elections. So that 100% includes 55%, more than half of them, who aren't going to vote. But among them, the Democrats are 3 points down. Then among the middle group, who are people who say they're likely to vote, which is about 60 or 70%, half of whom are lying, the Republicans have an 11-point edge. But then when you really get up to it, and you really get the model down to the people who will actually vote, Republicans have an 18-point edge. The meaning of that is that we had better get busy and make sure our vote shows up. And to that end, I've worked with Citizens United on a new movie that I'm very enthusiastic about. It is an amazing movie. I'm in it, Gingrich is in it, Coulter, and Fred Barnes. And it's called BattleForAmericaMovie.com. BattleForAmericaMovie.com. Please buy it. Show it to your neighbors, your parents' association, your soccer moms, your babysitter, your retirement community, wherever 2 or more of you are gathered in his name. Show that movie because that's what we need to do. We need to bring in this turnout.
Speaking about the turnout, Republicans are a little bit worried that they might not be able to match the Democrats' get out the vote and ground game strategies.
Match them, they'll exceed them 5 times over. Mm-hmm. The Tea Party has everybody at a fever pitch. It's unbelievable the way that's animating.
So not a
people.
legitimate concern then?
No. You know, I've been in politics for 40 years and I've never met a voter. You know, I read about them in polls, but I never actually met one. Now I've been running to 38 different districts and I've spoken to almost 30,000 people. Suddenly this is not a spectator sport anymore. They're all on the playing field.
Mm-hmm. Well, some political analysts, mostly appearing on liberal cable stations, are saying that Republicans have peaked too soon. What is your take on that?
Totally untrue. Look at these stats in the Senate race. Illinois, we were 1 point ahead, now we're 4. West Virginia, we were 2 or 3 behind, now we're 5 ahead. Wisconsin, we were tied, and now we're 12 ahead. These are all trending Republican. This is just the mainstream media trying to influence the results.
Okay, let's talk about some of these races. Everybody is watching closely what happens with the Senate race in Nevada. Do you see Sharon Angle winning this one and taking this from Harry Reid?
I sure do. When Angle won her primary, she was 9 ahead, then in early June. Then Reid put on a vicious negative, using Angle's own footage saying that she wanted to phase out Social Security and Medicare. And she dropped from 9 ahead to 7 behind. And they Sarah Palinized her. They said, oh, she's flaky, she's eccentric, and all that. Then she rebutted, or at least independent expenditure that I was involved in, AmericansForNewLeadership.com, spent $400,000 rebutting that Reid ad and playing the full tape, which was, I want to phase out the trust fund, which the Democrats can steal for Social Security and Medicare and make sure it's a lockbox they can't get their hands on. And then Sharon Angle got tied, even. Now, for the first time, she is actually showing a lead. So she's going to win.
Does the Republican advantage hold in California, where some polls show the Republicans have a slight disadvantage, at least in the gubernatorial race, as well as the Senate race involving Barbara Boxer and Carly Fiorina?
Yeah, the one piece of bad news throughout the country is California. Boxer has gone from a 2 or 3 point lead to a 4 or 5 point lead. She still is under 50. She still can be defeated. But Fiorina really needs to get her act together in that one. Boxer is saying that Fiorina is going to ship jobs overseas. Well, for God's sakes, Boxer voted for cash for clunkers. 40% of those were foreign cars. She voted for TARP, $100 million of loans to out-of-state banks. She voted for the stimulus package, billions for wind turbines in China. And she's accusing Fiorina of shipping jobs overseas? It takes chutzpah.
What about Delaware? A University of Delaware poll finds that Democrat Chris Coons leads Christine O'Donnell 49% to 30%. Delaware's Governor Jack Markle says that Democrats should not underestimate Christine O'Donnell. Do you agree with that?
Well, the poll you're talking about was taken on September 21st,
right,
and now it's October 6th. So we have 2 weeks in which the media has not polled that race. Mm-hmm. And Christine O'Donnell came through a firestorm of criticism from Bill Maher and late night TV, and now that's 2 weeks behind, and there's been a lot of focus on the issue differences about stimulus and Obamacare and all that stuff. So I would expect O'Donnell to close that race if anybody polls it again, and I think she could be a sleeper and a come-from-behind candidate.
To Washington State, where Republican Dino Rossi is slightly ahead of Liberal Democrat Patty Murray. This is a very blue state. It would be a stunning upset if the GOP wins this one.
Yes, and I think Rossi is really on track. Dino Rossi was doing positives when Murray was coming after him. Now Rossi is answering Murray's charges and moving ahead. And the lesson for the Republicans around the country is answer. When the Democrat says you're a horse thief, show that you're allergic to horses. When they say that you're a horrible human being and you kick your dog, have your dog on with you. The Democrats have nothing but personal negatives. And when you answer like Rossi's doing, you can move ahead.
Dick, let's talk about the Colorado gubernatorial race, because a lot of folks saw this one going blue. Tom Tancredo throws his hat in the ring running on a third-party ticket, and he's been making some gains. Does he have a shot at winning?
Well, that's the problem. He's not the solution. He's the problem. Mays is the Republican nominee.
Right.
And Tancredo jumped into this race, did not run in a primary where he could fair and square compete with Mays. Instead, he held back and jumped in as a third candidate. And people should not vote for Tancredo. He's a good guy. He's had a good record. I agree with him on a lot of his immigration positions, but he's destructive here. He's playing the Democrats' game, and you need to vote for Mays, the Republican candidate, because otherwise Buck is winning the Senate race, the Republican, and we have 3 House seats in Colorado we're probably going to pick up. Ryan Frazier is going to beat Ed Perlmutter. John Salazar, Cory Gardner is going to beat Betsy Markey, and Scott Tipton is going to beat John Salazar. We'll have 3 House pickups. So we should win the governorship if Tancredo can get his ego under control.
Last question for you, Dick. How does President Donald Trump sound to you? He's tried this before. He says he's seriously considering a run. What is your take?
Well, I do look forward to his telling Barack Obama, "You're fired." but I don't think he's really going to run.
All right, Newsmax contributor and political analyst Dick Morris, thanks so much for stopping by.
Thank you.
Good to see you. And thank you for watching Newsmax TV.